Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Knows.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Science fiction this hour, an episode of X-1, Appointment in Tomorrow. This episode originally broadcast November 7th, 1956.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight, Appointment in Tomorrow by Fritz Leiber.
The first angry rays of the sun, which surprisingly enough still rose in the east at 24-hour intervals, pierced the lacy tops of Atlantic combers and touched thousands of sleeping Americans with unconscious fear because of the unpleasant similarity to the ray from World War III's thermonuclear weapons. This was America approaching the end of the 20th century, America of the mask fad for women and the Neo-Cretan dress styles, America of your local radiation hospital, of the endless war and the loyalty detector. In his bedroom in the Thinkers Foundation, George Helmut slept.
Calculus to the nucleus, adding a quantum equal to the resultant of G sub 1 prime. Repeating, the quantum...
His educational sandman purred learnedly in his ear, droning tensor calculus through the night, filling the hours that used to hold man's formless fears and floating anxieties with the rigid form and anchored shapes of mathematics. Precisely at 8, the sidereal alarm went off.
Yeah. Ooh, my head. Oh, shower. 96.8, commence.
Under the soothing spray of the body temperature robo-shower, Helmut took a deep breath and cast his mind to the limits of the world and his knowledge. It was a somewhat shadowy vision, but he noted with impartial approval, definitely less shadowy than yesterday morning.
Off. Dry blast, commence.
Employing a rapid mental scanning technique, he cleared his memory chains of false associations, including those acquired while asleep. He felt the snap of clearing non-thalamic reasoning returning as the brain surged into clear, sharp control.
Off. Clothing. Color key 705.
He stepped into his clothing, the severe tunic, tights, and moccasins of the modern businessman. He smiled. The next big move had come to him in his sleep, as many of his best decisions did, because he utilized the time-saving technique of somno-thought, which could function at the same time as somno-learning.
Attention, robo-locator. Category, rocket physicist. Classification, genius level. Time limit for search, 20 minutes. Commence. Take dictation. Dear fellow scientist, The project is contemplated that will have a crucial bearing on man's future in deep space. Ample non-military government funds are available. There was a time when professional men scoffed at the Thinkers Foundation. Then there was a time when the thinkers perforce neglected the professional men. Now both times are past. I would like to consult you this afternoon, 3 o'clock sharp, Thinkers Foundation, signed George Helmut. End of dictation.
The president is waiting to see Maisie, sir. He has the general staff with him.
March and peace to him. Tell him I'll be down in a few minutes.
Huge as a primitive nuclear reactor, Maisie, the great electronic brain, loomed over the knot of hushed-voiced men. Its front was an orderly expanse of controls, indicators, telltales, and terminals, the upper ones reached by a chair on a boom. This was the machine with 1,000,000 times as many synapses as the human brain, the machine that remembered by cutting delicate little notches on the rims of molecules. This was the machine that timid cyberneticists and stuffy professional scientists had said could not be built. Yet this was the machine that the thinkers, with characteristic Yankee push, had built and named, with characteristic irreverence, Maisie.
Have you the questions for the day, Mr. President?
Here, Mr. Helmut.
I see.
The question on the Pakistan crisis is a little touchy. I don't know.
If there is enough data to answer it, Maisie will do so.
Well, of course, I didn't mean to. Of
if
course.
you will excuse me, gentlemen, I will code the questions for Maisie. Oh, Section 5, Question 4. Whom would that come from?
Number 4. Physics. Opperly and his research team.
I see. Thank you, Mr. President. While I'm coding the tape, there will be time to watch the takeoff of the Mars rocket.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I've often wanted to go to New Mexico. As a matter of fact, I've always wanted to go right through to Mars.
Mr. President.
My chief of staff thinks the project should be under the Army instead of the Thinkers Foundation.
Mr. President, this is the way Maisie designed the project.
Oh, I know. That's what I told him. Still, I wish you people could bring back a few of those wise little devils from Mars. It would be a good thing for the party, the country.
It's quite unthinkable. The telepathic abilities of the Martians make them extremely sensitive. The conflicts of ordinary Earth minds would impinge on them psychotically. Only the thinkers can contact them because of the clear training and errorless memory chains. Perhaps someday, in the future... there goes the rocket.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I am ready to submit the question tapes to Maisie. Stand back, gentlemen.
Oh, well, sorry.
And now... All right, gentlemen. Maisie is thinking.
The question tape, like a New Year's streamer tossed out of a high window into the night, sped on its dark way along spinning rollers. Curling with an intricate aimlessness, it tantalized the silver fingers of 1,000 relays, saucily evaded the glances of 10,000 electric eyes, impishly darted down a narrow black alleyway of memory banks, and, reaching the center of the cube, suddenly emerged into a small room where a sweating fat man in shorts sat drinking beer.
Here it comes. Get off my lap, honey. I've got work to do.
Can it wait?
I said get.
Ow, you didn't have to do that.
When Maisie thinks, she thinks. Open up another beer.
Look, I'm not a robo-barmaid.
Honey, do what you're told, or I'll ship you out where they'll work some of the upholstery off that frame, slopping radioactive mud.
You don't have to get nasty, Jan. Here's your beer.
That's better.
It makes you fat.
I like to be fat. It makes our relationship more poignant. Pass me the questions and get over to your keyboard.
You're a greasy pig.
But such an attractive pig. Start taping. Why, that dirty...
What's the matter?
One of the questions. Does Maisie stand for male Zell?
For what?
Male Zell.
Does it?
Look, you just keep sitting on your brains and let me do the thinking. Tape. Maisie does not stand for male Zell. Maisie stands for amazing, humorously given the form of a girl's name.
Who is Male Zell?
Edgar Allan Poe.
Huh?
It's a story. Mail Cell's chess player. About an automaton that was supposed to play chess. Poe proved it had a man inside it.
Oh, and they want to know if Maisie... They're wrong. Maisie doesn't have a man inside it. Just a lump of conceited lard. You could hit me with that. Look at my dress.
Get me another glass of beer. That must have come from the physics section of the Research Institute. Opperly and that ape Farquhar. Well, we'll look into that. All right, start taping. Question 1. The midterm election vidcast should be spaced as follows.
Morton Opperly's living room was quite behind the times. Instead of reading tapes, there were books. And instead of a 4x6 TV screen, there was a Picasso, still faintly radioactive from being smuggled out of the Manhattan crater. Two physicists faced each other across the table, old Mr. Opperly and young Mr. Farquhar.
About that male Zell question, Willard. Why do you keep teasing the zoo animals?
Because the thinkers are charlatans who must be exposed. We know their Maisie is no more than a tea-leaf reading fake. We've traced their Mars rockets, and we know they go into orbit 500 miles above Earth and stay there until it's time to come down with the latest miraculous Martian mental science.
But we've already exposed the thinkers very thoroughly. You know the good it did. Willard, the age we live in wants magicians. A scientist tells people the truth. When times are good, when the truth offers no threat, people don't mind. But when times are very, very bad, well, a magician tells people what they wish were true. That perpetual motion works, that colored lights can cure cancer, that a psychosis is no worse than a bad cold, and that they live forever. In good times, magicians are laughed at. They're the luxury of a spoiled, wealthy few. But in bad times, people sell their souls for magic cures and buy perpetual motion machines to power their war rockets.
Are we supposed to beg off from a job because it's difficult and dangerous?
In my day, Willard, I was one of the frightened men. Later, I was one of the angry men. And then one of the minds of despair. And now I'm convinced that all of my reactions were futile.
Exactly. You reacted. You didn't act. If you men who discovered atomic energy had only formed a secret league, if you'd only had the guts and foresight to use your tremendous bargaining power to...
Willard, we scientists weren't the stuff of which cloak and dagger men are made. Can you imagine Oppenheimer wearing a mask or old Einstein sneaking into the White House with a bomb in his briefcase? That's not the way power is seized. New ideas aren't useful to men bargaining for power. Only established facts or lies are.
What do you want to do? Surrender the world to charlatans without a struggle? The thinkers are vulnerable. Their power is based on a series of lies.
All power is. The greater the lie, the greater the power.
What's it based on? A few lucky guesses, some faith healing, some science hocus pocus.
The power of the thinkers isn't based on what they've got, but on what the world hasn't got. Peace. Honor, a good conscience.
They've sent for me.
Who? Jan Tregerin?
No, George Helmut. I got the radiogram an hour ago. They know they'll have to produce a real nuclear rocket pretty soon, and they'll need our help.
I'm afraid, Willard.
You think it might be a trap? After the Malzell question, you think they might want to shut me up?
I'm not afraid for your life. I'm worried about other things they might do to you.
They'd better be worried about the things I'm going to do to them.
November 7th, 1956, X-1 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care. And that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network, so Yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of X-1, Appointment in Tomorrow, November 7th, 1956.
March and peace to you, Willard Farquhar. You have entered the Thinkers' Foundation. Please remain on the slideway.
I want to see George Helmut.
May we take your hat and coat?
What the...
Do not be alarmed. Invisible radiations are slaughtering all the germs in your body, while more delicate emanations are producing a benign rearrangement of your emotions.
Claptrap. I can recognize a 14-cycle sonic note when I hear one. Where's Helmut?
This way, please.
Helmut, cut out all this Swami stuff. Where are you?
I'm afraid Mr. Helmut won't be able to meet you, Mr. Farquhar. I'm Jan Tregerin. Perhaps you can have your conversation with me.
George Helmut waited in a conference room with 24 empty chairs. He had prepared by 2 hours' rest with the Somno teacher on full volume for this conference, having strengthened his mind by hard years of Somno learning, memory straightening, and sensory training. He had assured himself of the executive power to control the technicians and direct their specialized abilities. Together, they would have built the true Mars rocket. But, unfortunately, no one came.
Where are they? Report.
No word from the door, Master.
They can't all be late. Did you check?
The calls have been put through.
What response?
Dr. Burnside reports he received the second message just in time.
What second message?
The message calling off the meeting.
Did he read the text of the second message back?
Shall I play it back?
Never mind. How was it signed? The signature?
Signature, Mr. Jan Tregerin.
George Helmut dejectedly examined his organizational charts, and then tapping his stylo on the pad, he extended his mental aura, cleared his memory chains of error, accelerated his cerebral processes by the Haber-Gerson process he had practiced for so many years. Slowly, he could feel the tight, heart-squeezing disappointment ebb. He was in control again. Tregerin, he was the one to blame. Tregerin, who was so used to working by deception that he must be shown the light.
Well, Willard, how was your adventure among the magicians?
Well, they didn't hurt me.
You're sure? And are you as determined as ever to smash and expose the thinkers?
Of course. Only from now on I won't embarrass you by asking any Male Zell questions. After this, I shall bore from within.
Now, where have I heard that phrase before? Do I understand that you are becoming a thinker, Willard?
Certainly. That's the only way to smash them. Out-trick all their trickeries. Organize a fifth column. Then strike.
The end justifying the means, of course.
Of course.
I wonder if becoming a thinker doesn't simply mean that you've decided to use lies and tricks as your chief method. Well, you're working with Helmut?
Not Helmut. Tregerin. I'm afraid that Helmut's career as a thinker is going to have quite a setback.
Ah, well. Goodbye, Willard.
Tregerin, I want to talk to you.
Shall I leave?
No, please stay.
Jan?
Stay. You ought to enjoy this. George has that errorless memory chain.
Tregerin, you know why I'm here.
I don't know. I've been sadly remiss on my precognition and clairvoyance exercise. I've been too busy with other things, other people. other exercises. But I don't need Maisie to guess.
You just went ahead and canceled the conference without consulting me.
You called it without consulting me. Shouldn't do that sort of a thing, George.
I was absolutely sure of my ground, perfectly prepared. I visualized it. The rocket boosting up on chemical power, then setting sail.
Sail? Sail? A nuclear reactor rocket. Oh, George, you're fabulous.
Yes, sail. Thin streams of nuclear reflecting material and the rocket feeding Meson streams behind it. I conceived it all, complete, except for technical details.
George, you are a thinker. A real thinker.
I know.
Now look here, George. Every man should stick to his trade. Technology isn't ours.
You know as well as I do that we're going to have a nuclear spaceship and actually go to Mars someday.
Are we?
Yes. Just as we're going to have to build an actual Maisie. I helped you organize the thinkers. At least I was your first partner. Our basic idea was that the time had come to apply science to the life of man on a large scale. The only thing holding the world back from this was the ignorance and superstition of the average man and the stubbornness and lack of enterprise of the academic scientists. Their worship of facts, even when the facts were clearly dangerous.
November 7th, 1956, X-1 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion next. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of X-1, November 7th, 1956, Appointment in Tomorrow.
Splendid. Splendid. Caddy, get me another beer.
I'm filing my nails. All right, all right.
Everybody wanted the new world. The trips to Mars, the knowledge of the human brain. All they lacked was the nerve to take the first big step. And that was what we supplied.
Here's your beer.
There was no time for slow and careful plodding. We couldn't afford to check and double-check. We couldn't wait for the grudging approval of the professionals. We had to use fake stunts, tricks, anything to get over the big point. Once that was done, mankind was headed down the new road. It was easy to just heal the breach with the professionals and to make good in actuality what had been made good in pretense.
Very good. The beer.
We built Maisie. We built the Mars rocket. We discovered the wisdom of the Martians. We sold the people and the science the professionals had been too high-toned to advertise or bring into the marketplace. But now that we'd succeeded, it's time to let accomplishment catch up with imagination, to implement fantasy with fact. You suppose I would have gone in with you if I hadn't known that someday we'd actually make what we claimed we had already made?
Oh, is that it?
John, the day's come, and I'm the man. I've prepared myself.
Caddy, clear the decks.
All right. I know. You just want room to point that fat finger.
I want her to stay.
All right. George, look, every revolutionary wants to see the big change take place in his lifetime. But time for the second step. George, the average man's exactly where he was 10 years ago when we took over. Except he's got a new god. More than ever, he thinks of Mars as a Hollywood paradise with wise men and yummy princesses, like Caddy here.
Do you think I'm yummy, really?
Shut up. Maisie is Mama, magnified 1,000,000 times. The professional scientists, they're more jealous and stuffy than ever. All they like to do is turn the clock back to a genteel dream world of square caps and quadrangles.
Bravo!
I said shut up. George, maybe in 10,000 years we'll be ready for the second big step. Meanwhile, the clever will rule the stupid. The realists will rule the dreamers. George, did you actually think you could have bossed those professionals? Nuclear scientists? Rocket physicists? Oh, now listen to me, boy. They'd have torn you to pieces in 20 minutes, and glad of the chance. George, you baffle me. You know that Maisie and the Mars trips and all that are fakes, yet you believe in your somno-learning and consciousness expansion and optimism pumping like a corn-fed yokel.
There is a place for the man who has the courage to dream.
Sure. In a straitjacket. Oh, George, you remind me of those men who used to put out those lurid little magazines with Caddy's grandmother on the cover in outer space in a stripped-down bathing suit.
My grandmother never...
I said shut up! That's what it is. Frustrated little men playing science god to generations of pimply high school chemistry students and gas station attendants, conning them into thinking they're in the know, sprinkling a few formulas to the garbage and playing Atom Smasher, and then being very solemn about the role of imagination in science. George, the trouble with you is they forgot to take your zap gun and space cadet decoder pin away from you when you turned 13.
That's your honest opinion?
It's more than that. George, get a hold of yourself and quit taking fantasy in the veins. That's an order.
Jan, the strange part of it is that I know as well as you do that Maisie and the Mars trips are fakes, but some things aren't. The human mind, Jan, is a tool that hasn't been perfected yet. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy, Horatio.
Who's Horatio?
I said shut up. This is the last full cackle, George. You've been fooling around with ESP, huh? Telepathy? Maybe a little hypnotism?
Maybe.
All right. Guess what I've got in my drawer? Extend your consciousness. Telepath it. Visualize it. Never mind. I'll save you the mental effort. It's a pistol, see? Now, let me tell you something. I got a couple of boys waiting outside. They'll take you by jet to New Mexico. George, congratulations. You're leaving for Mars tomorrow.
Mars?
Yes. I've decided Mars will be the best place for you. We'll arrange it so that your trip is, say, 2 years long. Perhaps in that time, orbiting up there, you'll learn a little Martian wisdom. For example, the big liar must never fall for his own lie. Meanwhile, I got a replacement for you. His name is Willard Farquhar.
But I sent for him to...
Yes. You see, I, too, believe in cooperation with the scientists. But by subversion. I'll offer them the hand of friendship with a big, fat bribe in it. You know what the bribe is? The power to destroy me. That's what I'm offering. Join us. Learn our secrets. Bore from within. Bide your time before you strike. But while he's biding, I'll have him. And when he's ready to strike, he'll find it's not quite the time. Wait a little bit. Enjoy the power. Play with fat old Jan Tregerin like a cat. And by then I'll have him.
You can't replace me, Jan.
Oh, you were a good man, George. When we needed catchy slogans, ray guns, plastic helmets, fancy sweaters.
I warned you, Jan. Don't underestimate the mind. The human brain. Even Caddy here is a fascinating instrument. For example, I had a little talk with Caddy last week.
Very boring.
Ah, but useful. But when we were finished, her mind had something it didn't have before.
You always were educational, George.
Caddy, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Now, put your hand on his arm. Now, take his gun.
Caddy, are you crazy?
I've got his gun. What now?
You see, Jan, there is a place for the dreamer, the man who believes, who can use his mind. I'm going to get rid of you, Jan, because the man who dares to dream will rule. Caddy, look at me. Look at me. Point the gun at him. Look at me.
I can't anymore. It's too ridiculous. Jan, take your silly gun back. It's too heavy.
What? Caddy, I command you, look at me. Look at me.
The power of the mind. Hey, boys, come in and get him.
I don't understand. Caddy, look at me.
Oh, all right, I'll look at you. Poor Superman.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features You Go by E.C. Tubb, which proves that for pure, chilling horror, nothing can beat cold, hard facts. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Appointment in Tomorrow, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Fritz Leiber and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Ted Osborne, Dean Almquist, Pat Hosley, Bob Hastings, Arthur Hughes, and Charles Penman. Your narrator was Floyd Mack. This is Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
November 7th, 1956, X-1 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Captain Midnight, November 7th, 1939.
And now to Captain Midnight. The famous pilot and Chuck Ramsey are planning a precarious takeoff at daybreak from the treacherous lake bed back in the mountains. In the meantime, Ivan Shark, in his headquarters at the hacienda he has stolen from Senor Juan Pareda, is completing plans for a master stroke against Captain Midnight. It is now late at night, and Shark is interviewing Senorita Dolores Pareda, distracted daughter of Senor Juan. The cutthroat Gardo is also in the room. Listen as the suave Ivan Shark says,
"My dear Senorita, every promise I've made you will be kept if you will tell me where the Pareda treasure is hidden."
I do not know what to do. I have thought and thought, but it does not seem to do any good.
All you have to do is to tell me what I wish to know, and everything will be all right.
Yes, but you promised me before that you would let me speak to my father, and that you have not done.
Senorita, nothing will be accomplished if you become hysterical. On the contrary, if you listen to reason, I will keep the promise I have made. You have only to tell me where the treasure is.
I have not said there is any treasure.
It is useless to say that, Senorita. Quite useless. You know all about the Pareda treasure. You are the only daughter of Senor Juan. He would not have kept you ignorant.
Very good, Senor. I will make the bargain with you.
Now we're getting somewhere. What is the bargain you wish to make with me?
I will do this, Senor. I will write upon a piece of paper the location of the Pareda treasure.
Excellent, Senorita. As soon as you give me this paper, I will let you and your father go.
Wait, Senor, wait. I have not finished. There is something else.
Very well. Proceed.
After I have written the location of the treasure upon the paper, I will hide the paper. And then, after you have given my father and me our liberty, then I shall tell you the location of the paper.
Very clever, Senorita Pareda. Very clever indeed. But not clever enough. It would be possible for you to say you've hidden the paper when you have not done so at all. And then you could put false information on it. No, Senorita. I'm afraid it will not do.
Come on, Chief. Hand her over to me. I'll find out.
Perhaps I shall give you your chance, Gardo. But not quite yet.
Very well, Senor, but at least you can do this. If I give you a part of the treasure to show my good faith, then you can believe that I will give you a paper that will show the location of the remainder.
That, Senorita, interests me. Where will you have to go to get this portion you speak of?
You will give me the liberty of the hacienda and the gardens. It will not be necessary for me to go outside the wall.
Very good, Senorita. I agree. It'll soon be morning. For some time I shall be very busy, but later on today I shall be here. Then you shall bring me this part of the treasure you speak of.
Then you will agree to the bargain?
If the treasure you show me is sufficiently interesting, I shall do as you request. Now then, you shall go. Fang.
You wish to speak to me, Master?
Yes, Fang. You are to follow Senorita Pareda, and you are to keep her under observation the rest of the day. You must not fail in this.
Very good, Master.
You must be careful that she does not know that you are watching her.
I understand, Master.
Very good. You may go.
Yes, Master.
Well, what do we do now, Chief?
Very soon it'll be daybreak, Gardo, and we must be in the air.
Yeah, but there's a heavy mist around them mountains in the morning, Chief. We can't do much till it clears up.
We will be ready to take to the air, and the instant the fog begins to lift, we will take off.
Okay. Anything else?
You will see that all ships and pilots are ready to fly. Go now, and then send me word.
Okay, Chief. Gardo never fails.
And now, back to Captain Midnight. As daybreak neared, the famous pilot and Chuck Ramsey climbed into the cockpits of the black two-seater and warmed up the engine. Then they start their takeoff. Listen as Chuck shouts.
We're almost off, Red. There, the wheels are clear.
Yes, I felt them rise, Chuck. There was a lot of drag to the ground there.
We got to turn, Red. There are high trees and a steep hill on the other side of the lake bed.
Yes, I know, Chuck. I jumped her off the ground so as to get into the air as quickly as possible. For the moment, I'm letting her pick up more flying speed.
Oh, gee, that's right. We gotta have plenty of speed.
All right, now that's fast enough, I think. Hold tight. I'm pulling her up into a steep right turn.
Shoot the works.
I will, Chuck. Hang on. Okay, now we're coming around.
How does she handle?
She responds to the controls nicely. Can't you feel her when I move the stick?
I'll say I can. Are we headed west yet?
A little bit north of west. But I don't see any top to this fog, so I'm making a complete circle.
Well, how much altitude have you gained now?
300 feet. Still not enough. But by the time we've completed our circle, it will be.
Well, I thought we'd begin to break through this fog, but I guess not.
No, it must extend higher than we thought.
Which way you gonna head after we get out of the crater?
Northeast, Chuck.
Well, we can't do much if we don't get out of this fog pretty quick.
I think we'll break through pretty soon now. You know, it's like this every morning, especially around these mountain peaks. Oh, wait, look. It's beginning to lighten up a little already.
It sure is. How high are we now?
Well, we're 700 feet. Another quarter turn, and I'm going to head northeast.
Remember, we've only got an hour's gas.
Yes, I know. But before long, I hope to replenish our supply.
How in the world are you going to do that?
I'll tell you shortly.
Jiminy crickets, it's getting a lot lighter.
Yes, a few more seconds, and we'll be through this stuff. Say, look, I can see the wingtip, Chuck. Can you?
Yeah, I can, Red.
We're through it, Chuck. And now we're on our way.
And now we return to the shore of the dried lake bed. Two shadowy figures, Patsy Donovan and the Mexican boy Pebbles, listened to the takeoff of the Black Two-Seater. And then, when the sound of the engine had faded in the distance, they sat down on a rock ledge. Listen as Patsy sighs and says,
Gosh, Pebbles, I'd give anything if I were going with Captain Midnight and Chuck.
Oh, you said the mouthful, Patsy. I would like to go, too.
I sure wish I knew what Red had up his sleeve.
Oh, El Capitan Midnight. He has the clever plan to get gasoline and oil. You can bet the sweet neck on that.
He sure has. When Red goes after something, he finds some way to get what he wants.
Oh, see. But I do not like to see El Capitan Midnight and Chuck go away this morning.
Gosh, Pebbles, why not? It's very important or they wouldn't go.
See, I savvy that, but I like to have Chuck here this morning.
But why, Pebbles? Come on, tell me. I think you've got something up your sleeve.
Oh, you think I have something up this sleeve, huh? Well, maybe you are not so far off after all.
Come on, tell me, Pebbles. You wouldn't hold out on a pal, would you?
Well, I would show you if Chuck were here, too.
Then you are holding out on me. What is it, Pebbles?
No, I cannot tell you. Chuck, he must be here, too.
Come on, you tell me, and when Chuck gets back, we'll both tell him.
Oh, no. You are like all the girls. You are very curious.
Oh, is that so? Well, if Chuck were here, he'd have gotten it out of you already.
Well, if Chuck is here, then I show you. As soon as he returns, I will show you both.
Oh, I hope Chuck hurries and gets back soon. Gee, Pebbles, I wonder where they are now, and what's happening to them.
Blazing beacons, Red. Now I can see plainly. We're coming right to Ivan Shark's landing field next to the Pareda Hacienda.
Right you are, Chuck. Watch it now, we're about to hit. Keep your eyes on everything around us.
Okay, Red. I'm watching everything.
All right. I'm going to taxi right up to that shack with the wall there. I think that's where Shark keeps his gas and oil.
I don't see a soul around, Red.
That's what I was hoping, Chuck. There aren't any planes here on the field. That makes me think they're all out trying to pay us a little visit.
Look out, Red. We're going to crack into that shack.
No, we're not. Hold tight. I'm slapping on the brakes hard. Yeah, there. Now I'll turn her around, ready for a quick takeoff.
That's swell. Oh, look, Red. Those 5-gallon cans must be gas and oil.
And that's going to be our next job, Chuck. Filling up with Ivan Shark's gas.
I'll cut the engine, Red.
Okay. It's a lucky thing we've got one of Shark's planes, so no one will be suspicious of our landing here. All right, come on now. We've got to work fast.
Well, that's done. Her tanks are all loaded, Red.
Wait a minute. Look, Chuck. That wall back there. There's a man looking over it. Come on. Let's see what he's watching. We might find out something important.
Gee, Red, it's a garden full of beautiful flowers.
Yes, I can't make out, though, what that fellow's watching.
Red, that fella. Why, he looks like an Oriental.
Yes, you're right, Chuck. He does.
What in the dickens? Why, there's someone in the garden. There, over to the right, Red, near that summer house.
Mm-hmm. It's a girl, Chuck. And she's beautiful, too.
Gosh, I wonder who she is.
Careful, Chuck. Look, that fellow sees us. He's watching us.
Gee, looks as if he'd seen a ghost. Why, blazing beacons, Red. He's starting to run for our ship. He must suspect us. Oh, the jig is up, Red.
Oh, no, it isn't, Chuck. Come on.
Well, Captain Midnight has chanced a daring stroke. He has landed at Ivan Shark's headquarters. But neither he nor Chuck knows that the fellow they have observed is Ivan Shark's personal servant and bodyguard, Fang. But say, what is the surprise Pebbles has in store for Chuck and Patsy? It's something you must not miss. So be sure to tune in tomorrow to Captain Midnight. Say, how many of you wide-awake young junior pilots have remembered to tell your dads about the original tailor-made gasoline, Skelly Aeromax. Have you explained to him how Skelly Aeromax is weather right for your car? Because it's tailor-made for quick starting, for pep and power and pickup in your kind of weather? Well, why don't you ask Dad to try a tankful of tailor-made Skelly Aeromax gasoline tonight? Remind him, too, that it's time to drain out that thick, sluggish summer oil and replace it with free-flowing Skelly Tagoline winter oil. Tell him it's better to prepare than repair. Say, Dad'll thank you, I'm sure, for introducing him to a swell combination for winter driving. Tailor-made Skelly Aeromax gasoline and Skelly Tagoline winter oil. Why don't you talk it over with him tonight? Then be sure to stop at your Skelly service station the next time you're out in the family car. Now, don't forget to tune in again tomorrow, same time, same station, for further transcribed adventures of Captain Midnight. Brought to you by the Skelly Oil Company, Skelly Jobbers and Dealers. What is the great surprise that Pablo has in store for Patsy and Chuck when the latter returns? That is, if he and Captain Midnight succeed in getting away from Ivan Shark's headquarters. Be sure to listen tomorrow. Until then, this is Don Gordon, your Skelly Man, saying goodbye and happy landing!
November 7th, 1939, Captain Midnight here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows on demand. Learn about classic radio collecting. Find our social media links. Find a list of podcast sites where you can download our shows from. You can contact me directly. You can buy me a coffee. That buy me a coffee money helps us acquire additional classic radio programs to bring to you here on your favorite station. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.